guys, this is Mark. I have my co-host again, Stacy. She just decided to sit around and we're going to chop it up. Say what's up, Stacy.
Hi, guys.
All right, cool. Again, you know, we talk about issues that happen in the community. One of the issues, Stacy, let's get into it.
Saturday night's prison riot.
Exactly.
At Cimaron Correctional Facility in Cushing.
Cimaron Correctional Facility. This is actually the second time this year this has happened, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, guys, let me bring you guys up to speed on actually what happened. There apparently was, I believe, 3 or 4 inmates that got into an altercation, okay? And the altercation, apparently all 4 inmates ended up dying, from my understanding.
Yeah, there's been 4 deaths.
We don't know exactly what happened. They've been very closed mouth on it.
And they usually are in these.
Right. And so it's like we're trying to figure out, you know, what's going on.
Right.
And this facility is ran by who?
My friends, Corrections Corporation of America.
And we go by
a
short
whole
name
mouthful.
of this. It's called CCA.
CCA.
Okay. Guys, I don't know if you know, CCA actually used to run David L. Moss at one time. So, Stacy, you've been doing some research on CCA and the correctional facility?
I have a long and sordid history with CCA. I actually, in my wild days, I had a boyfriend that was incarcerated in one of their facilities. And upon his release, I come home one day from work, and one of their officers is sitting on my couch smoking weed with my boyfriend.
Come on now.
I'm dead serious.
Come on. Are you serious?
So
one of their correctional officers.
The same guy that would check us in on the weekends when we would come up to visit.
Smoking weed.
On my couch, smoking
on your
weed.
couch?
On my couch, in my house.
Oh, did he have his uniform on?
No, he didn't have his uniform on. He was in street clothes. But I knew who he was because I saw him every weekend. So
this
I
is
was
crazy.
like, well,
that's crazy.
Hello. CCA has been cited nationwide. They're a nationwide company. They own about 2,000 facilities, I think it is, nationwide, and operate.
Now, do they own these facilities?
Some of them they own, some of them they operate under contract, like David L. Moss.
Okay. And we're talking private prisons here.
Yes, they're all private.
They're publicly funded by the state, but they're owned by private, right?
What it is state facilities, or like Oklahoma Department of Corrections, which is a state entity, will basically contract out the beds to CCA and there's a couple of other organizations that do the same kind of work. And so the facility houses DOC inmates, Department of Corrections inmates, but they basically report to DOC, and the DOC pays them to take these inmates because of overcrowding.
Do you actually have a number? Do you know of a number how much per inmate is costing?
In Oklahoma, I believe it's around $96 a day.
Wow.
Per inmate.
And that's not talking about the immigration, because I understand they get $75 a day. But
yeah, that's a separate
issue
okay. Because that's federal money.
Okay, gotcha.
So these are guys that have been through Department of Corrections at one point, and as they've there are 2 here in Tulsa that still operate under CCA after they lost David L. Moss. And they lost David L. Moss because of gross mismanagement.
And they've been sued numerous of times, right? Okay.
Insane amount of times. They're actually under investigation as of the end of August.
Okay.
While I was doing my research, I found that.
Wow.
A video has surfaced of one of their staff members on site in his uniform. Right. Intoxicated. And
is this the K2?
Yes.
Yeah, he was smoking K2, right?
Yeah, he was smoking K2, and so, but this is not the first time this specific Avalon here downtown in Tulsa has been cited. Earlier in the year, they were under investigation for the staff gambling on inmate fights.
Okay, but so we can talk about private prisons, and I know a lot of times people hate private prisons. We have a lot of listeners and a lot of watchers. They hate private prisons, right? Because they're money-making machines.
They are. The state of Oklahoma's contract with them says that we have to keep their beds 90% full, or we pay multi-million-dollar penalties.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. Well, I mean, we also have a problem with overcrowding, and our local holding cell, David L. Moss here, we just heard in the news, I'm throwing this at you guys, that they had their investigative locker room tampered, and they've had K2 stolen from. that area. So, I mean, and then, there are facilities like in McAllister, and they've had deaths there. So I know we can pick on the private prisons, but what do you think that's happening with incarceration, the mass incarceration?
Well, there's two different questions.
Okay.
Okay. The question with what's happening with mass incarceration is people are being, they're being held for crimes that are not necessarily, there's not really a reason for them to be incarcerated.
Okay.
Things like low-level drug dealing, failure to pay fines can get you sent back.
Nonviolent crimes.
Nonviolent crimes.
Okay, got you.
And even like I said, not paying your fines once you've been released the first time can get you sent back.
Wow.
So that is part of the problem with overcrowding, is rather than deal with these people while they're out on the streets and can be employable and be productive members of society, we'd rather throw them back in there and get that state money that comes from having them incarcerated.
Right.
Now, the reason that we have all these problems with CCA is because they do the same job that the Department of Corrections does for a cheaper price. That's why we shuffle people over to them, is because it costs less for them to employ a staff member than it does for DOC to employ them, and that's because they don't pay them the same wages that they would pay a DOC staff member. They don't have the same number of staff. They have their facilities are much more controlled by cameras. And so instead of having actual people who can break up a fight as it's happening, they've got some guy in a control room watching a camera for a fight to happen.
So there is a connection with CCA and our mayor. I'm sorry, and our governor. Our governor. And you've been doing some research on that.
Yes. Mary Fallon took, I believe it's over the past couple of years, she's taken $39,000 from CCA and other. Now, she's not the only one that's doing it. Jabbar Shumate also was in that Tulsa World Report.
Wow.
And it's tens of thousands of dollars that they're getting for their campaigns from these private prisons. And if you look at the number for Mary Fallon, it was $39,000. The average income in Oklahoma is only $42,000. So she's taken more in basically bribes, is what I'm going to call it. Okay,
so let me play devil's advocate, because I know we have a lot of people on our Facebook page that don't always agree with us.
Right.
So let me be their voice, all right?
Okay.
They're going to say, criminals. They're criminals. They're breaking the law. They need to be locked up. I mean, what do you say to that?
While I agree that someone who commits a crime should be held accountable for that crime.
Right.
The studies that have come out have shown incarcerating people is not the answer. They're locked up with people who've committed much more dangerous crimes.
Right.
The situations are much more dangerous for these nonviolent offenders.
Right.
And so at that level, we really should be talking about alternatives like drug court.
Right.
Probation, parole, probation, and that sort of thing.
Right. I see how mass incarceration has affected a lot of the minorities, especially African American males. We've seen homes being broken up. We've seen, due to mass incarceration, we've seen, the DHS system has been flooded because of kids that are in the system because of mass incarceration.
Right, because one parent's in prison and the other parent is struggling to take care of them.
So people don't understand that mass incarceration is actually hurting the society in its whole.
Yeah, it's the root cause of a much bigger problem that we have as far as poverty and that sort of thing.
But Stacy, you know where I see mass incarceration going?
Where's that?
Mental health. I believe.
Yes. And that actually was quoted as, in another segment, we're going to talk about the 2014 numbers, and that actually was quoted as a cause, is the mental health services that people desperately need are not there. And jails and prisons are being used as basically holding pens for mentally ill people that would otherwise be able to be out and taking care of themselves if mental health services were more available.
I mean, Andy, you look at the new David L. Moss wing that they're building.
That is
supposed to be
for mental health. And here in Tulsa, we've got Family and Children's Services, and they do amazing work over there. In addition to the mental health services that they provide for the community for free, if you do not have insurance, they will get you free counseling and free medication. But in addition to that, they have a program that they call Women in Recovery. And
Okay.
I am the biggest champion for Women in Recovery. I actually have a friend who went through the program, and
Okay.
she's doing amazing. And I'm so proud of you, Gina. But
Not our Gina.
No,
not our Gina.
Not Lady
Okay.
Red Gina.
Okay.
Another Gina that I went to high school with,
Okay.
who got into some trouble, and she's doing fantastic with her life now.
Okay.
Because she went through the program, and this program basically, they pull from David L. Moss.
Okay.
They, you basically get like a full-time counselor that walks you through your drug and alcohol
Okay.
recovery. They train you like job skills wise, get you ready for work, and help you get into your own place so that you can get your kids back
Okay.
out of the DHS system.
All
And the program, they have like a 98% success rate. So
Okay.
only 2% of their people are going back, and you don't see that.
Wow.
I mean, you just locking someone up and throwing away the key.
Well, you had mentioned something
It's like the
earlier
opposite.
in reference to people paying fines going back into prison.
Mm-hmm.
I had a chance to talk to our DA here,
Yeah.
Steve Kunzweiler.
Mhm.
And there is a judge that is trying to work out some type of plan
Mhm.
to prevent people from going back into prison system because of unpaid fines.
Absolutely. One of the people that John Oliver story mentioned that we posted a couple of days ago, he was incarcerated, and they charged him, I think it was like $50 for his public defender, $50 for the prosecution's public defender, because
Wow.
he lost his case, of course, because he had a public defender who had 7 minutes to prepare his case.
Wow.
And then they charged him a $200 administration fee. Now, keep in mind, this is a elderly disabled man who is
Okay.
on oxygen.
Come on.
And so he's racking up all these fees just being involved in the system.
Okay.
But they can't incarcerate him at a jail because he can't get oxygen into the jail because it's a threat to the other prisoners. Okay.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
So the whole story was about how, you know, he racked up like a $800 or $900 bill with the county, and they were going to throw him back in prison. And he's like, they're issuing me a death sentence by putting me in prison.
Right.
But, you know, what am I supposed to do here? You know,
Right,
I can't pay the fee because I'm on a set. He's on Social Security.
Right.
You
right,
know.
Right. Well,
So-
I mean,
so
obviously.
I think it's great that we're looking at all
Well,
alternatives.
I mean, they
to
are
those
looking at
things.
alternatives. I mean, you had the women recovery. Hopefully, there's be something for men
Right.
soon coming in. But guys, that's all we have for you today. Please listen, stay connected, stay on our Facebook, and we out. Peace.